When we talk about Australia's military power, we usually focus on ships, aircraft, missiles and vehicles. But behind every capability the ADF relies on is a group of defence companies that design it, build it, integrate it and keep it running. Australia's defence industry is largely dominated by big prime contractors, most of them multinational companies that win the major defence contracts and manage entire projects from end to end. And while government policy is slowly shifting towards building sovereign capability and increasing local manufacturing, Australia still relies heavily on overseas defence companies and their Australian subsidiaries to deliver its most important military systems. So today we're going to take a look at the 10 biggest defence companies in Australia currently building and sustaining the ADF's capabilities. I'm Mel Pikos and today we're talking tactics. BAE Systems is by a clear margin the largest defence company operating in Australia. Its Australian defence revenue is estimated at between $2.5 and $3 billion a year, placing it at the centre of almost every major defence conversation. It is the prime contractor for the Hunter-class frigates, one of the most complex and politically sensitive shipbuilding programs Australia has ever attempted. They also built and lead the sustainment of the RAND's 3 Hobart-class air warfare destroyers. BAE is also responsible for sustaining Jawn, Australia's over-the-horizon radar network, a system that underpins long-range surveillance of the northern approaches. The company also has its hands in the sustainment, upgrades or development of a number of different capabilities, including the Collins-class submarines, MQ-28 Ghostbat, the E-7A Wedgetail, the F-35 Lightnings, the Strix drone, the Razor precision-guided munition, the Nulka active missile decoy system, the evolved Sea Sparrow missile, and plenty of other weapons systems, battle space integration systems, and communications networks. BAE is not just selling equipment, it is embedded in long-term sustainment, design, and integration. With a massive global workforce and a broad Australian footprint, BAE functions less like a supplier and more like a permanent industrial partner to the ADF. Thales Australia is one of the clearest examples of sovereign defence manufacturing in the country. It builds and sustains the Bushmaster and Hawkeye protected vehicles, platforms that have become core to Army mobility and force protection. Thales also operates guided weapons and munitions facilities in Australia while delivering sonar systems, sensors, and long-term sustainment services across land, sea, and joint capabilities. Thales is also positioning itself for the next generation of land combat systems. It has been testing the Strike Master, a light, highly mobile strike vehicle armed with anti-armor missiles, as a potential option for the ADF for land-based maritime strike capability. The concept focuses on speed, dispersion, and lethality, allowing small units to deliver long-range firepower without relying on heavy armoured platforms. While not yet a formal acquisition program, the Strike Master reflects the Army's growing interest in mobile, missile-armed systems suited to distributed operations. Thales isn't just delivering a piece of kit and moving on. It builds it here, integrates it into the ADF systems, and then sticks around to sustain it over the long term, employing Australians across regional and city-based sites. That's what makes Thales more than just a project contractor. Even though it's part of a larger international company, Thales feels like a core part of Australia's defence industrial backbone. Lockheed Martin Australia sits at the heart of Australia's highest-end warfighting capabilities. It plays a central role in sustaining and integrating the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter fleet, Australia's most advanced combat aircraft. Lockheed also delivers the Aegis combat system for Navy and is the prime contractor for Air 6500, Australia's future integrated air and missile defence system. Aircraft like the F-35 and the C-130J Hercules were all built by Lockheed Martin, although in the USA, the Australian arm are also heavily involved in the sustainment and integration of these platforms. Where Lockheed really matters is in the systems integration, or pulling everything together. It's the glue that links sensors, weapons, satellites, and command systems into one shared picture. And in a high-intensity fight, that kind of integration is what lets the ADF operate as a single coordinated force, not just a collection of ships, jets, and units. Raytheon Australia is often described as the Navy's systems integrator of choice. It occupies a central role in turning complex collections of platforms and sensors into a coherent naval fighting force. The company integrates combat systems on the Hobart-class destroyers, delivers missile systems across multiple platforms, and plays a major role in naval combat management, upgrades, and long-term sustainment. Its work ensures that radars, weapons, sensors, and command systems do not operate in isolation, but instead function as a single tightly coordinated combat system under real operational conditions. Raytheon does not always manufacture the hardware itself. Instead, it specializes in making highly complex systems work together across different vendors, technologies, and generations of equipment. In modern warfare, that integration layer is often the difference between capability on paper and capability in combat, particularly when systems must be rapidly upgraded or adapted to new threats. Northrop Grumman Australia is one of the most strategically important but least publicly visible defence companies operating in Australia. Its influence is felt more through data, sensors, and networks than through high-profile platforms. It's the prime contractor for Jean, supports the Triton unmanned surveillance aircraft, and works extensively across space, cyber, and advanced intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance systems. Much of this work happens quietly, far from public view, but it underpins Australia's ability to monitor vast areas of air and sea and to operate effectively alongside allies. Northrop's value lies in information dominance. Its systems help Australia detect threats earlier, track them more accurately, and feed decision makers better data faster. In any future conflict, especially one defined by long-range weapons and rapid escalation, that information edge could be decisive. Boeing Defence Australia is increasingly focused on autonomy and uncrewed systems, alongside its traditional strengths in sustainment, training, and through-life support. It supports the P-8 Poseidon Maritime Patrol aircraft, delivers sustainment, logistics, and training systems across multiple air platforms, and leads the MQ-28 Ghostbat program. Ghostbat is Australia's most advanced autonomous combat aircraft and a rare example of an Australian-led project operating at the cutting edge of global air combat development, with local engineering playing a central role in its design, testing, and evolution. That program elevates Boeing from a sustainment-heavy partner to a genuine future force shaper. As autonomous systems and crewed-uncrewed teaming become more central to how air forces operate and fight, Boeing's role in Australia is likely to grow substantially, both in strategic importance and in the scale of its industrial and technological footprint. Leonardo Australia maintains a strong aerospace, electronics, and sensor footprint across defence, as well as related civil and security agencies. Its Australian presence is built around long-term support rather than short acquisition bursts. It sustains key helicopter fleets, including the AW139s, providing long-term maintenance, upgrades, and mission support that keep these aircraft operational, safe, and deployable. This sustainment role extends beyond routine servicing to include avionics upgrades, sensor integration, and adaptations to evolving operational requirements. Leonardo also delivers radar, electronics, and mission systems used across defense, border protection, and emergency services. Leonardo's strength is longevity. Its focus on sustainment, sensors, and incremental upgrades ensures that critical aviation and surveillance platforms remain relevant and effective over decades of service. Rather than chasing headline-grabbing platforms, Leonardo underwrites the steady availability and safety of capabilities that defence relies on every day, reducing the risk of obsolescence or capability gaps. Rheinmetall's Australian defence revenue currently sits around $600 to $800 million, but that figure is widely expected to grow as major land programs shift from acquisition into sustainment and upgrade phases. The company delivers the Boxer Combat Reconnaissance Vehicle and operates the Military Vehicle Centre of Excellence in Queensland. That facility represents one of the most advanced armoured vehicle manufacturing and assembly hubs in the region, incorporating digital production techniques, testing infrastructure, and local supplier integration. It also anchors a growing Australian supply chain tied to armoured vehicles and land combat systems. As Land 400 matures and sustainment activities ramp up, Rheinmetall is positioned to transition from a program-specific supplier into one of Australia's largest and most enduring land systems manufacturers. Its long-term presence would span production, upgrades, and through-life support, embedding Rheinmetall deeply into the Army's future force structure and well beyond a single acquisition cycle. Saab Australia is deeply embedded in Navy combat systems and software-driven capabilities that sit at the heart of maritime operations. It delivers the 9LV combat management system, air traffic and defence surveillance systems, and a range of software-intensive capabilities that underpin naval and joint operations. These systems integrate sensors, weapons, and command functions, enabling ships and shore-based facilities to operate effectively in complex and contested environments. Much of Saab's value is digital rather than physical, residing in software, systems architecture, and continuous updates. Saab consistently punches above its weight by controlling critical combat software. In modern navies, software increasingly defines how ships fight, how easily they can be upgraded, and how quickly they can adapt to new threats. That makes Saab strategically important, well beyond its revenue size, particularly as defence places greater emphasis on rapid capability, evolution, and digital resilience. Hanwha Defence Australia earns around $400 to $600 million a year, but that figure is likely set to rise significantly as major land programs transition into full rate production and long-term sustainment. The company is delivering the AS-9 Huntsman self-propelled howitzer and the supporting AS-10 armoured ammunition resupply vehicles for the Australian Army, establishing a strong foundation in heavy vehicle manufacturing, sustainment, and local workforce development. Hanwha has also been awarded the Redback Infantry Fighting Vehicle contract under Land 400 Phase 3. Redback represents one of the Army's most significant future investments and will shape Australia's armoured fighting vehicle fleet for decades. The program encompasses vehicle production, ongoing upgrades, and deep through-life sustainment, embedding Hanwha into the core of Australia's land combat capability. With Redback moving ahead at scale, Hanwha's Australian revenue, workforce, and industrial footprint are set to expand rapidly. Australia's defence industry is still dominated by a handful of large prime contractors, but the balance is starting to shift. As Australia moves deeply into AUKUS, expands guided weapons production, and invests in autonomous systems and space, the question is no longer just who is the biggest today, it is who can build, sustain, and scale capability inside Australia when it really counts. Companies like BAE, Lockheed, and Thales will remain central, but firms such as Rheinmetall, Hanwha, and Saab are structurally positioned to climb quickly as policy and spending align around sovereign capability and long-term resilience. There are also smaller companies such as Drone Shield and Electro-Optic Systems who may not be building massive ships or aircraft, but are still putting out world-class systems and capabilities that are being adopted all over the globe. If you'd like to see in-depth videos on those companies or any of the companies I've talked about today in this video, let me know in the comments section down below. But that's it for today. I'm Mel Pikos, and we've been talking tactics.